Today we're talking about polynomial products, and basically it's taking everything you learned and we're just making the polynomials bigger now. So they could be any size, they're not specifically binomials or monomials or anything like that. So make sure that you get your date and your page number and your learning target, and you put all of this information into your table of contents. Again, this really isn't any different. I'm going to show you both ways for the first example. But basically, just like we did before, you're multiplying everything in the first set of parentheses times everything in the second. So you're just distributing everything to everything. So, first step, I'm multiplying x times x squared, and I get an x to the third. And then I'm going to multiply x times 2x, and that gives me a positive 2x squared, because x times x is x squared. And then x times 1, which is just a positive 1x. And you don't have to put the 1 in front if you don't want to. The other thing in this first set of parentheses that has to be distributed is a positive 5. So positive 5 times x squared is a positive 5x squared. And then positive 5 times 2x is a positive 10x. And then positive 5 times positive 1 is a positive 5. Okay, so I have to clean it up still. I have to make sure it's in standard form and combine like terms. So the only x to the third term I have is the first one. So that one's just going to come down, and I'm done with it. Now I've got two x squared terms. I've got a 2x squared plus a 5x squared, which gives me a 7x squared. And then I've got a 1x and a 10x, which gives me an 11x. And then I just had a plus 5 that didn't have any other terms to it to combine to, so it just comes down, and that's my final answer. I'm going to show you this exact same example, but I'm going to use the box method. This time with the box method, instead of a 2 by 2 box, because I have a binomial times a trinomial, I have a 2 by 3 box. That's really the only difference. So I've got x and then a positive 5 for the 2 side. And then for this, I have an x squared, I have a positive 2x, and I have a positive 1. So just like before, I'm going to multiply these two squares together. So x times x squared is an x to the third. And then x times 2x is a positive 2x squared. And then x times 1 is a positive 1x. 5 times x squared is a positive 5x squared. Positive 5 times positive 2x is a positive 10x, and then 5 times 1 is just positive 5. So again, just like before, these should combine, but you're going to have to check always to make sure. This is an x to the third. This is a 7x squared. This is an 11x. And then I have a positive 5 that didn't combine to anything, so it just comes down. Notice I get the same answer that I got in example 1 the first time I did it. So you can choose whether or not you like the box method. The box method, again, is just a graphic organizer. One more example I want to show you because it looks harder than it actually is. When you multiply three numbers together, ignore the example for now. So if I was going to multiply, let's say, 2 times 4 times 6. What you would do is you would multiply 2 times 4 and get 8, and then multiply that times 6. Well, you're going to do the same thing here. You're going to just multiply the first two together, and then whatever you get, you're going to bring down the x minus 1 and multiply that there. So I'm going to start with the first part. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is a positive 2x. Then I'm going to distribute the 3. 3 times x is a 3x. And then 3 times 2 is a positive 6. I'm not done with this. I could clean it up a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to combine those like terms, and I would get x squared plus 5x plus 6 for this first bracket. And then I haven't touched this x minus 1, so I'm just going to bring it down. Now, all I have to do is distribute again. So everything in this parenthesis to everything here. So I'm going to start there. X squared times x is an x to the third. x squared times negative 1 is a negative 1x squared. Then I have a positive 5x. Positive 5x times x is a positive 5x squared. Positive 5x times negative 1 is a negative 5x. 6 times x is a positive 6x. And then positive 6 times negative 1 is a negative 6. So now again, just combine like terms, clean it up, make sure it's in standard form. This is the only x to the third that I have, so it just comes down. I have a negative 1x squared and a 5x squared, which gives me a 4x squared. Negative 5x and 6x gives me a positive 1x. You don't have to put the 1. And then negative 6 didn't combine to anything, so you just bring it down. And that's your final answer. You can do that in the box if you want to. You would just have to make two different boxes since you had to multiply two separate times.